I think the biggest competitive advantage over the next few years won't be choosing the perfect AI platform. So get that out of your mind. You don't have to choose the perfect AI platform.
Every day, future residents are reaching out. Different channels, different languages, different time zones. But when your team is busy, every missed message is a missed opportunity. That's where VerbaFlow changes everything. Powered by conversational AI, VerbaFlow responds instantly, around the clock, across chat, phone, email, and more. With conversations so natural, many prospects never realize they're talking to AI. While VerbaFlow handles routine conversations, your team gets back to doing what only people can do: building relationships, creating community, closing more leases. VerbaFlow. Because every conversation counts. Visit verbaflow.ai to book a demo.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to this episode of Student Housing Insights. I'm your host, Anais. I'm an Associate Director of Operations at Cardinal Group, and I have a lovely guest star with me today.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Love. I'm the SVP for Multifamily and Student Housing at VerbaFlow. I also head up the US. We are an AI communication platform that handles all incoming inquiries, inbound communications with your residents, prospects, and beyond. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining me today. So, what we're going to be discussing today is a lot about AI, student housing in our industry. And I can just start with when I started in student housing over 10 years ago as a sophomore at the University of Florida. Go Gators. And yeah, back then we would have our prospects and our guarantors come in and take physical tours. There was no virtual tours. We would have paper leases. Everyone would be signing everything physically in our filing cabinets in the back. So definitely has changed a lot in the last decade with a lot of introduction of AI and technology in the space. So we're going to jump into a couple questions and then kind of have a conversation about it. So Jennifer, are you ready for your first question?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I've been in prop tech for 16 years, and just in that time, it's changed tremendously. And I think one of the biggest changes is what we're seeing now is AI really coming in and being part of that leasing journey, being a leasing agent. I remember when call centers were like the big technology shift. What was that? Maybe 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think at that time we could conceive that at some point there would be an AI that could be taking that over and answering those calls. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's kind of wild how
Yeah.
far we've come.
Very jarring. So, my first question for you is balancing trust and automation. So, building trust requires AI to maintain a natural conversation flow while remaining transparent that it is not human. In student housing, where prospects are often Gen Z students and anxious parents, how do you manage that balance? And how does VerbaFlow and other tools prevent the AI from feeling cold or purely transactional?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions about AI is that it has to feel robotic or transactional. In reality, the goal is exactly the opposite. The best AI should feel natural, conversational, and genuinely helpful while always maintaining that it is an AI. I think this is especially important in student housing, where oftentimes you're not just talking to the students, but you're talking to the parents that are making one of the biggest financial decisions of the year. And they're looking for confidence, clarity, and to be supported throughout the process. At VerbaFlow, we see 85 to 90% of inbound questions being answered completely by the AI without a team member ever having to step in. I think that this speaks genuinely to how repetitive some of those conversations actually are. And now students and parents aren't waiting for office hours or waiting for someone to get back to them. They're able to get answers immediately. But at the same time, this doesn't remove the human aspect from it. What it does is it creates a path to questions answered quicker while freeing up time for your staff to answer questions that truly add value. Then, when a conversation requires more context or more empathy or just that human connection, that is the best time for a team member to step in. I think that's the key. AI should never become a barrier to a customer and a person. It should be the fastest route to the right answer. One of the reasons that I joined VerbaFlow is because we didn't just create an AI that answers questions. We created an AI that continues conversations. The best leasing consultant doesn't just ask, about your rent and stop. They've asked follow-up questions. They want to know about what your resident expects, any concerns or questions they have about the property, the area, and they help them move to the next step. A good AI should do the same thing. Voice is another area that I'm really passionate about. I think this is where it separates the leaders from everyone else. It's pretty easy to create a chatbot that answers FAQs. It's something different to create a voice AI that's able to handle interruptions, that's able to understand context, that's able to shift gears, but while still remaining conversational. So, my recommendation to operators is if you're looking for an AI communication platform, test the voice component always. At the end of the day, though, I don't think that parents and students are thinking about whether they want to work with an AI or a human. They're looking for a great experience versus a frustrating experience. They want accurate information and they want it quickly. And they also want to feel supported throughout. If AI can deliver that, then fantastic. If a human is needed, then that passover should be seamless. In my mind, AI handles a routine and people handle the moments that matter. Technology should never be the differentiator, the resident experience should be. So, in that same kind of thought, as we talk through what residents want, we know that residents want fast, frictionless communication, but they also value authenticity and human connection. How important is it for prospects and residents to know when they're interacting with AI versus a human? As voice agents become more human like, what concerns should operators be thinking about around trust, privacy, and resident comfort?
Yeah, I think it's super important for prospects to know when they're talking to an AI agent. At Cardinal, we've put a focus on this and a priority on balancing efficiency with hospitality. The issues we're trying to solve for is having a lengthy AI answer the call and a prospect trying to get a question in, but the AI is cutting them off or talking too much. And so we're really trying to shorten that and make it very clear and concise in the beginning while also announcing itself as an AI agent and that it can answer clear and easy questions while also leaving those lengthier questions, like you mentioned, for the human to answer as well. So ultimately, the goal is to use AI to handle volume and routine tasks efficiently while ensuring the human on site is available for those more complex situations like you were talking about before. And something that's interesting is that according to Gallup, 51% of Gen Zs use generative AI weekly. However, in their last year, they've found more negative emotions towards it and it has intensified a bit. And to me, I kind of relate that to in my real life, when I'm going to pick up a pharmacy prescription. I don't mind dealing with the AI agent because really I just want to know, is the pharmacy open? Is my prescription ready? And I have no problem, doing the AI through that. But for example, if I'm trying to set up an appointment for a doctor's appointment and I have multiple questions about insurance and a follow up, I'm typically that person that's pressing the zero or the pound key to be connected with a human because I want it to be able to answer my more complex questions. So I definitely think that we are seeing this in the student housing space where we are wanting to simplify the agent, notify the caller that it is an actual agent so that we're not causing frustrations, and being able to connect them to a human quickly when they're wanting that and requesting that for a more comprehensive question. So, Jennifer, VerbaFlow suggests that delegating repetitive communication to AI allows on-site teams to focus on high-impact hospitality, like I just talked about. However, a common concern is that operators may use AI as a reason to reduce headcount rather than reinvesting time into resident satisfaction. How should U.S. operators structurally approach their staffing models to ensure AI enhances the human element rather than stripping it away?
I think that is a fair concern. With every major technology shift, it creates questions around staffing, and AI is no different. Will operators review their staffing models? Absolutely. We'd be naive to suggest anything different. But I think the biggest opportunity here isn't removing people from the resident experience, it's removing repetitive work from the resident experience. For years, on site teams have been asked to do more with less. Leasing consultants aren't just leasing anymore, they're answering emails, texts, phone calls, maintenance follow ups, renewal conversations, delinquency conversations, which we know can be very uncomfortable, but the list just keeps growing. The reality is that many teams are overwhelmed as it is. That's why I don't see AI as replacing people. I see it as giving people their time back, just like it gives us our time back as consumers. If AI can handle the repetitive, high volume communication, your team suddenly has the capacity to focus on things that matter, the things that only humans can do exceptionally well, like build relationships, tour prospects, solve complex problems, and create memorable resident experiences. And simply just being present in the community. I think that's so undervalued, but so necessary. I also think we need to rethink how we measure success. Historically, we've measured activity, how many emails someone's answered, how many phone calls they've taken. Going forward, I think we should be measuring outcomes, things like resident satisfaction, conversion rates, renewal performance, response times, and team engagement. If AI improves those metrics while giving your on site team more time to create meaningful human interactions, I think that's a win. The communities that will stand out over the next several years are not going to be the ones with the fewest employees. They'll be the ones that combine exceptional technology with exceptional people. Because at the end of the day, no one's signing their lease because their chatbot was amazing. They sign it because they felt confident in the experience. AI should simply make it easier for your teams to deliver that same experience consistently. So, as we're talking and thinking about automation and efficiency, Anais, what operational challenges or blind spots do you think the industry still isn't talking enough about when it comes to AI?
Yeah, I think our industry often treats AI and on site teams as two separate channels when I really think that we need to be optimizing both to work in conjunction with each other. And our data is showing us that AI excels when it's booking a tour or generating a guest card. And we really see the human excel when they are on the call to close the tour or to close the application or the lease. And the challenge isn't replacing humans with AI, it's integrating them. So, like we mentioned, that the AI can answer how much the pet rent is 500 times and not bother the human with that. And we can leave the hospitality component to the human so that they can build those connections with their prospects and guarantors. And I find too that we sometimes think that the AI tool simplifies the on site role when it actually amplifies it and makes it a little bit more complex and raises the bar. So, because the AI handles routine questions, the inquiries that are more complex and high stakes reach the human. And so I feel like this creates an operational blind spot where we need to focus more on upskilling the on-site team to have proper phone etiquette, to build those connections flawlessly with our prospects and our guarantors. And as we continue to focus on the hospitality piece in the post-COVID world where social interaction is a little bit more awkward or a little bit more difficult, we need to continue training our on-site teams so they're making those exceptional experiences because like you talked about, that's going to make the difference on whether they want to live somewhere or not is if they really felt valued, heard, and connected to, rather than having the AI take over all the conversations. And lastly, I think that the AI tool, sometimes we think it's a set it and forget it installation, but it's really not. It's an evolving tool where we need to spend the time making sure that the knowledge bank is always up to date with our current offerings, our policies, and our fees. And that it's remembering that it's a living and breathing resource that takes a lot of fine tuning, because otherwise it's going to make the AI performance plateau a bit. Like you mentioned, we are world class at measuring lead to lease ratios and conversion rates, but I feel like we definitely need to spend more time on tracking qualitative resident sentiment across AI interactions. We talked about some of the blind spots are identifying unhappy residents before their frustration escalates into non renewals or negative reviews. And we know that the AI tool can book a tour, put in a maintenance request ticket, but where the challenge lies is developing the AI tool to make sure that it can detect emotional frustrations like frustration, noise, and roommate conflicts before they manifest into a lost lease. So, as we just talked about, how do operators continue using the AI through these pain points and learning phases like we just talked about?
Well, so much of what you just said in your last answer really resonated with me, and you're so spot on. I think one of the biggest mistakes operators make is expecting AI to be plug and play because it's not. I actually compare it more to hiring a new employee. You wouldn't hire a leasing consultant, give them 1 day of training, and expect them to know all your policies, everything about the property, every resident scenario, your brand voice, etc. AI is no different. It needs guidance, optimization, and continuous learning. I also encourage operators to define success correctly. If you're measuring AI against perfection, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The better question we should be asking, is it creating a better experience than what we had before? If it's responding in seconds versus hours, ensuring every inquiry gets an answer, and giving your team more time to focus on residents, you're already creating value while the technology will continue to improve. And here's something I think is really important. We often hold AI to a much higher standard than we hold ourselves to. A leasing consultant might occasionally give the wrong answer, miss a follow up, etc. And we accept that because we know they're human. But if an AI makes one mistake, people sometimes question the entire technology, which I think is excessive. The operators who will see the greatest long term success, in my opinion, are the ones who treat AI as a journey and not as a one time implementation. The technology does get smarter over time, but only if you're willing to invest in it. So, that being said, I think the goal isn't perfection on day one, it's continuous improvement. AI isn't plug and play, it's train and improve. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it definitely does.
I have one more question, and this is shifting a little bit, but maybe kind of where AI can go in your mind. So, do you think AI could eventually help operators proactively identify unhappy residents before issues escalate into bad reviews, transfers, or non renewals?
Absolutely. At Cardinal, we utilize a resident feedback platform for our property management system that pushes surveys to our prospects and residents at various touch points, like after their tour, after they move in, after they have a service request completed in their unit. And we get alerted of these positive experiences where we, in turn, ask them to leave us a public review. And so I know for me in the real world, before I go anywhere, I'm always looking on Google to see what rating
Same.
and what reviews are available. So if I'm going to a new restaurant, I'm going to a nail salon, a new fitness studio, I'm typically looking at those reviews to see what the experience is like. And so whenever we do get these negative reviews internally, we're able to reach out to the resident, try to resolve their issue before it becomes a public review. And so right now, I don't really think we're utilizing AI in this way, where we're having it respond to these surveys for us automatically and quickly. Or maybe I think what would be really cool is if it could send us alerts when we're not responding to negative experiences within 24 hours. Because, we're in a world where people want answers and responses back quickly and as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And so I think that this would really help with our resident sentiment and with those frustrations that they
Mhm.
may have is utilizing the AI tool so that we can get back to them quickly and resolve their issues, like I said, before they become more public.
Yeah, I think that's a great vision for where it can go and how it can continue to help us.
Okay, we've been talking a lot about AI in the US in the student housing space, but VerbaFlow is a UK based company. So is the UK ahead of us with AI?
That's interesting that you asked that, but I would actually challenge the assumption that UK is necessarily ahead of the US. The US student housing market has embraced technology for years, I think. The difference is it's often been shaped by a small number of incumbent providers with long contract cycles. That can make innovation feel slower than it actually is. And it's not because operators aren't interested in AI, but it's because they're committed to multi-year agreements with fewer opportunities to test new technology and new solutions when they come out. At VerbaFlow, we're now supporting over 275,000 beds globally. So we have the opportunity to see how operators across different markets are adopting AI, not just different markets, but different countries. From my perspective, the biggest challenge for the US isn't culture, but it's flexibility. AI is evolving at an incredible pace, as we know. The technology available today is dramatically different from what was even available a year ago, and the pace isn't slowing down. My advice is to pilot aggressively, test often, and avoid locking yourself into long term decisions whenever possible. I think the operators that stay curious and adaptable will be the ones best positioned to deliver exceptional resident experiences as the technology continues to evolve and hopefully continue to move in the direction as we've cited with customer reviews and just be able to do more that takes things off of our plate so we can elevate that human experience. I guess in closing, I think the biggest competitive advantage over the next few years won't be choosing the perfect AI platform. So get that out of your mind. You don't have to choose the perfect AI platform, but what's most important is building the flexibility to continually adopt better technology. I think that's where you win in the end.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I know you were speaking of like the US being ahead in AI, but not in soccer with that loss to Belgium last night.
That I know. Wow. And so it's so much. I won't say we'll keep this non-political, but yeah, there's always something going on. But yeah, that was a tough loss. I mean, I'm a proud American, so I was definitely going for the US. But from the beginning, if I was betting, if we were in Vegas, I put my money on Viva la France. I do have my grandmother's from France, so I do have a tie to France, but I just really think they could take it the whole way. My immediate boss is actually from the UK, and my team member who is actually the head of the UK, my peer, they're very happy right now. I'm unhappy because my mother's Mexican and Mexico took that loss. But yeah, it's been an exciting time in all the teams. It's just a fun. I love the energy of FIFA. What about you? Do you have a team that is your favorite?
I guess going for the US, I'm more of like football fan, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but it's been cool to see everybody come together and come to the US and experience this FIFA World Cup together. So,
Awesome. Well, it's been super fun getting together and just chatting AI and student housing. I really appreciate the time and thanks for asking me to join you in this conversation.
yeah, thanks for joining me and can't wait to see all the developments that come with AI in the workspace and how we continue to utilize it. So, thanks everybody for joining us and
And good luck with Turn. I
yeah,
know you
thank
guys
you.
will crush it. Cardinal always does.
Yeah, busy time for us, but thank you so much.